Welcome back. In this tutorial now we are going to continue with our project for Django that we looked at in the previous tutorial. If you didn't watch the previous tutorial, I'll request you to first go back and watch it, and then you can come up and watch this one. So in the previous tutorial I showed you how to create a Django project and also to create a Django application inside your project, and as well as adding templates, or we added one user template. So we added the home template, and now this is where we stopped, so we are going to continue from there. And in this tutorial we are going to look at how to navigate from one template or from one user interface to another, for example from the home to the about us. And also we are going to look at the user authentication. We are going to see how to sign up, how to log in and log out a user, and also to do some validation if the user is logged in or not, so that they can access what they want to access. We are also going to look at the Django database. We are going to see how Django works with databases, and also we are going to look at the Django models, and we are going to do some migrations. Okay, perfect. So that being said, let's now continue from where we stopped last time. So what we are going to do now is to create a second template, and we are going to call it about us, so the user may navigate from the home to the about us. We are going to do the same process. We are going to create a view that is going to render the about us page. We are going to create the about us template, and we are also going to create that route that we shall use to access the template for about us. And now let's create the template. Okay, so we shall add it. So in this we're just going to add one tag. Okay, this shall be about page. Alright, now that we have our template created, so we are going to create a view that is going to render this template. So we shall go to the views and add another view, still using the def keyword for functions. This one is called about. Right, about view. It also gets a request. Okay, you terminate and then you return. So I'll just copy this just to save time. So right here we are rendering the about. Okay, now that we have a view that is going to return the about us page, what we are going to do is to create a route that is going to point to this view, so that each time the user clicks on the about us route or link, it points to this view and then renders the about us, so that it is returned to the user. So we are going to go to our views, to our URLs file, and then add one. So we shall put a comma since it's an array of paths. So we shall add another path that is going to render the about. Right, so this path is going to point to a view. So from views we need dot about view. Right, so we save these changes. We are going to test and see if we put in about, if our page is rendered. Okay, so perfect, our page is rendered. So now we need to access it through the home page. Alright, so what we are going to do is very simple. We are just going to add a name to this. Okay, we are going to add a name to this and call it about. So each time this name is called upon, it is supposed to be of string. Okay, so at each time this name is called upon, it is this link that is being rendered or activated. So when we are calling that, we go to the home page. Let us add the anchor tag that is used to hyperreference or to navigate from one page to another. So this time round, when it comes to Django, we are going to see how it changes. So we shall call this link about. Alright, so we save this. A link has been created, but now it is not taking us anywhere, so we need to activate it. We shall come here where it references from, and then add, inform this that this is a Python code that we are going to insert here. Alright, and it is going to be URL, and this URL is going to be about. So here we are using the name of the path. Alright, so our name of this is called about. So we save this. So let's refresh, and now our link takes us to the about us page. Okay, so perfect. Now we've seen how to navigate from one page to another. So that being done, now let's do some user authentication, so that before someone logs in to this, before someone accesses the home page, they need to first log in. And we need to validate if they have successfully logged in or not. So what we are going to do is to first create a login page for the user, and also create a sign up page for them to sign from, and at the same time maybe we shall give them provision to log out like any other system. So when it comes to user authentication, as you're seeing in the pre-installed apps, we have an application under installed apps that is called Django Contrib Auth. So this is an application that is created by Django that is going to helps us to save time when it comes to user authentication. So as a developer, you don't need to write the authentication code from scratch, but rather to use the pre-written code by Django found in this application that we are just going to be consuming so that we can do the user authentication. So this Django Auth app provides us with different functionalities, as we are going to see, that can help us to authenticate the user, and also it provides us with forms that we can use to give a user provision to log in and also sign up. So basically that means we don't need to create forms or HTML forms from scratch. Django has already created them for us, unless you want to, or unless you're having time and you want to do something that is different or customized based on your needs. But let's see how the Django user authentication forms work, and how the Django authentication works in a nutshell. So that being said, we are going to first close our about index. I always want to close all files that I'm not working with, and then I only open the one that I'm working with. So first we need the login page, we need the sign up page, and we need to create views for those pages, and also we need to create routes. So first things first, we are going to create those views in our templates folder. So we are going to call this login.html. Alright, so here we are going to just write put one tag that will help us verify, and we shall call this login. Alright, so we are also going to create a sign up page, signup.html page, and also we paste there some tag that is going to help us. So here we can call it registration page. Alright, so we shall save this. So now let's go ahead and create views that are going to return these pages here. Okay, just for testing purposes. So we need to make sure that these pages can be returned in the browser. Alright, so we go to the views, and then the first view is for rendering the login. Now I'm going to call this login view or function, login view, anything, you can call it anything, or login page. Alright, it also takes in a request. Alright, So we're just going to return it for now, just to test if the pages are up and running. So this is called login. So we save. I'm just going to copy this, the entire code, and paste it here. Okay. So this one I'm going to call it register. So it returns the register, or we use sign up. Sign up. Okay, I'll save this. So now that we have the views that return the login page and registration page, we are going to go ahead and add routes, okay, that will give us access to those pages. So we come to our URLs file and then add the two parts that we need. So I'm just going to copy this, right, comma, then this. I'm also going to give our home page a name attribute and call this home. Okay, so this is login and this is sign up. So this one is called sign up. Alright, and it consumes the register view. This one consumes the login view. So I'll also change its name and call it login. So we have the routes, we have the views. Let's go to the browser and just verify, so that when we put in login, it returns the login. Perfect. And when we put in sign up, it returns the registration page. So now let's go ahead and add a few things to these pages so that they can do what? They can make sense. Alright, now we have one default user. When we go to our admin, let's create a default user. Okay, let's create a default user that we are going to use to log into the admin dashboard. That takes me to something that is going to a little bit divert us, but we shall go back to the user authentication. Now I'm going to talk about a Django database, and then how to do some database manipulation, how to create the database and also play around with it. Now when it comes to Django, like any other application, like any other framework, Django gives provision for you to connect to a database, and when you're connecting to a particular database, you have to come to the settings file and inform Django of the database you're using and its supportive engine. So this is the database connection string. This is where you write whatever connections or credentials that are attached to your database. And by default, Django connects to SQLite database, and here it specifies the database engine and the database name. Now when it comes to SQLite, it resides within the application. So here you specify that it is in the base directory. That's why you can see a file here called db.sqlite. So for now, our application or project is connected to this database that is located inside the project folder. So we specify the database engine and also the database name and location. So if you're using any other database engine, for example, for scalable databases like MySQLite, Oracle, the other database engines, Firebase, PSQL, MongoDB, MariaDB. So you specify that particular engine and then the server, right? The server, the user credentials, password and username, so that for authenticity and authorization. Okay, so for now we are going to leave it at this. We are going to stay connected to our database, which is this SQLite, and we are going to do some database manipulation, right? So you'll notice that whenever you run a Django project, it tells you you have 18 unapplied migrations. Now migrations are like database commands that we always run to do some database changes, or to modify, to add something to our existing database tables, and also the database itself. So when it says you have 18 unapplied migrations, it means they are already pre-existing migrations for which apps, the admin, the auth, the content, and the sessions that we need to run so that they can be applied. Okay, so database migrations are like blueprints that specify how our database is going to look like. So these blueprints are created from the models, like we said in the beginning. Django is as what we call object relational mapping, which means that your database is designed in a way that follows the structure of the model. Alright, so the model becomes like the pipeline which the data is going to pass through from the database to the view where you need it. So the attributes of the model determine the database or table fields in your database. That's why we have the concept of object relational mapping. Alright, so when you look at these existing applications, they are the ones that have been listed here. As you can see, we have the admin, we have the auth, we have the content and sessions. It means these applications have already got migrations created, meaning that they have models that are already created within them, and also they have got the migrations that are made. Migrations means that when you create a new model, or when you make changes to your model, and then you want to apply those changes to your database, you need to first create that blueprint or that file that is going to track those changes. And then after, when you create that file, it means that there is a migration existing. Now after creating that file that is having the database structure basing on the model you have, then it means you can apply those changes to your database. By applying those changes to your database, it means you're running the migrations. Alright, so we need to apply the changes of this application to the database that we have. So for us to apply the changes to our database, or to run the migrations for these pre-existing apps, what we are going to do is to run a command. I'm going to open a new terminal. Okay, is to run a command called py manage.py migrate. So this command helps us to run existing migrations and make the database changes. Alright, I told you this command creates new tables, or whenever you add a new model, or whenever you make changes to a model, it tracks those changes. And when you make the migrations, this command gets all the new migrations that were made, or the unapplied migrations, meaning that migrations that are existing whose changes are not in the database. So it gets those migrations and then makes the changes to your DB. So we are going to make changes to our database, and then what we are going to do is to, so let me see if I can do something here to see this database file, if it can display something. I don't know if Visual Studio Code will be in position to read it, but anyway, so let me run these migrations here, pressing enter, and then so you see it is running the migrations. Are you seeing it is writing something in our DB, meaning that it has created some tables in our DB that were not existing. Our DB file was empty, but now it has written something which Visual Studio Code cannot read properly, but we are seeing stuff, meaning that there is something being done somewhere, right? You see, so there is a user authentication table that has been created. See, so this is how VS Code can read the database. Since VS Code is not a database engine, it is seeing some stuff as rocket science also. Anyway, so we've applied migrations that were already existing, and it shows the different migrations it has applied. Apply all migrations in the admin, the auth, and content types and session. So it says migrations auth require alter. Okay means the migrations have been applied successfully. So After doing that, let's go ahead and create a super user. Remember I told you in the beginning Django provides an admin dashboard. So we want to log into this admin dashboard and see what we have. So we are going to create a super user. A super user is like the super admin that is going to manage the entire application. So Django gives us a provision to create that super user by using a function called manage.py create super user. Right? Create super user. Super user without create super user without space and then press enter. So it asks you for the name, and then I'm going to give it admin. I want to use admin as the username. The email, I'm going to use admin@gmail. Right, this can be an email that is valid, and then it is asking for the password. I want to use the password admin. So when you're typing in the password, you won't see any changes being made, or you won't see movement in the cursor, but just know that what has been tracked. So I'll press enter. It is asking me to verify the password, so I'll type again admin, and then it is saying this password is too similar to the username. Password is too short, it must contain at least 8 characters. This password is too common. Alright, so do you want to validate bypass password validation and create user anyway? Yes, I'll click Y and then press enter. So my super user has been created successfully with username admin and password admin like I've specified. So let me go back to my admin and log in and see if I can be in position to log in with the credentials I've just created. Boom, perfect. So it is saying welcome admin, view site, change what. So this is our admin dashboard, and currently we only have the models, we have the groups, and then users. When you click to users, you can see the different users that are existing. We only have one user who is the admin. Okay, so for now we are going to use this super admin who is called the user to also log into the the application itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a login form. All right, let's go ahead and create a login form. Yes, I'll close this. Okay, so we want before someone accesses the home page, they need to first log in. All right, and also they can be in position to access the home page. So we shall go and modify our login page so that we can do something. All right, so what we are going to do, we are going to go to our views. Now, like I told you in the beginning, this like I've told you before, this Django contrib auth does the authentication. So we are going to use its functionalities, meaning for us to use its functionalities that are already existing, we are going to first import it. So from Django dot contrib dot auth, which is the application now, we need to get its forms. So forms, all right, import. So we need two kinds of forms. We need the authentication form that is going to be used by the for login. The other forms we shall import them as we go on. So for now we need the login form, and the login form is called the authentication form. All right, so we've imported the authentication form. Now let's go ahead and also import the login functionality. The login functionality is also part of this django.contrib.auth. So we shall say from django.contrib.auth import. This time around we don't add the forms, so import login. So there is a function that is already called login. So now we are going to use the Django login and also the Django login form to create a login page and for our users. All right, so I'll save this. Now what I'm going to do here is to go to the login view. This is our login view. So inside the login view, I'm going to check whenever they are calling upon this view, we are going to first find out or verify the kind of request. Is this request from just a direct request in the browser, or it is a post request? All right, by post request we mean the user has pressed maybe a login button here. Actually, let's go ahead and add the login button here. Okay, we are going to add a simple form. Okay, this form is going to be having a method of post. Okay, and then in this method post we have a button. Okay, and this button is called login, and it is of type submit. Okay, so so whenever a user presses this button, we need to find out, has the user pressed the button or they have just put in the link. If they have just put in the link, we do something. If they have just pressed the button, then we also need to know. So when they press the button, we need to verify. If the button is pressed, it means the method is equal to post, because in this case the user is posting. So we need to verify. All right, if method, okay, if method, sorry, if request, if the request of the user, if request dot method is equal to a post request, right, what do we do? Okay, if it is equal to a post request, what do we do? We are going to get the user's what? We are going to get the user form. Okay, what we are doing ideally is to get the form and do what? We authenticate that user. Okay, so that means for us to authenticate that user, we need to import a function called authenticate. Okay, so we import a function called authenticate. So we are going to use that function, and it takes in different parameters. The first one is it takes in the different arguments. The first argument is the request, and then we need to pass in the username and the password. Okay, so we shall say username is equal to request dot post, okay, dot get. So here we are getting the username. Okay, we are passing a username that has been what? Okay, we are passing something, and then we have, so I'm going to just copy this. Okay, so we are also passing the password. So it takes in parameters. Okay, the request, the username, and the password. So here we are picking the username from the form. We are going to pick the username from the form, and also we are going to pick the password from the form based on what the user has entered. Alright, so this one is double equal sign, so that's why it is already crying. So when after authenticating the user, what we need to do is to see if this user is authentic, meaning that does this user exist, okay, or not. If the user form, actually you can call this user, right, so that it makes sense, is none, meaning that this user, when we say if user is none, it means this user does not exist. So what we do is to say form is equal to the authentication form. Okay, form is equal to the authentication form, and then we tell the user, we navigate back the user. Okay, we return. So I'm just going to copy this return. I'm going to cut it actually, Control X. So we return and render the request, and then we take them back to the login page because they are not authentic. and then what we are going to do for them is to pass the form. All right, we pass the form, this form here. Okay, so we are going to create a dictionary. It's a form, and this form is equal to, its value is the form, the user authentication form that we stored in this variable. Okay, when we save this, all right, so what happens now, this is what we've done here is for a situation where the user does not exist. We need to create the else part for a situation where the user exists. So if else, then it means this user exists. So we are going to do what? We are going to log that user in. So we have this functionality login that takes in the request, all right, and then our user here. Okay, it takes in the request and then the user, the credentials for the user we've got. So we shall say request comma user. All right, after that we I'm going to just paste this that I copied. We take them to our home. All right, we take them to our home page, so we can actually redirect. Instead of rendering, we are going to redirect. So when you're using the redirect, all right, what we do here, we use the name instead. So when you're using the redirect function, instead of render, you use the what? The name. So what is the name of our route that returns the home? It is called home. So it is the one that we are going to use here. All right, so redirect home. So that's it. This is supposed to be redirect. Save this. So I don't have the redirect function. I need to import it. It is part of the shortcuts. I'll say redirect. Okay, so hopefully it has stopped crying. So now what we've done here in our login, we've checked if the users pressed the button. That means they are submitting the details they have filled in the form, and then we pick those details, and also we check if they exist. If the user exists, then if the user does not exist, which is this function, if user is none, that means that user is not existing. We get the form again, the login form, and render it to them and still take them back to the login page. Else, it means the user exists, so we take their we log them in and redirect them to the home page. Okay, so what happens if this request is not a post request? So we need to create that else part, right, that matches this if. So else, do what? Get this form, get the login form. If they have just entered in the URL for form, okay, get the authentication form for that user and return the home. We're actually doing this, return the login page. Okay, so let's save and see what we have. All right, in this, when we save, there is no change. So what we need to do now is to get this form here that we are passing. I see in this form that we are passing the authentication form. We need to display it in our login form. We need to display it here. Right, so what we are going to do is to just display that form by putting it into double curly braces and just say form. Right, when we say form, so we expect this form to be created for us. Okay, so now one thing, when you're submitting, when you're making any post request in Django, you need to use also to catch the tokens, the token forgery. We need also track the token forgery by using the CSRF token, which is this. This is to prevent token forgery. So C srf, right, token. So that being done, we can also just put here a break. Right, so we save and see the changes we have in our login. Okay, this is a bit fine. We can just add some space, just put a second line. Alright, okay, I think that is okay. Perfect. So now what we are going to do is to see if the user can be in position to log in. Remember, we've already created this logic. Alright, we can pick the users. So when we put in, we want when remember we only have one existing user, which is the admin. We know their username and their password. So we are going to try to log in the admin from our login. Okay, so this time around we are not logging into the dashboard, but we are logging into our application. So you want, when we put in admin and password admin, all right, it takes them to the home page. All right, so right now we've put in admin, which we know is the correct username, and admin, which we know is the correct password, but see, it is not logging in. Okay, so what we do is to pick this username and also the password. All right, so when you inspect this page, okay, when you inspect this page, all right, and look at our form, we have this input, which is for the input for the username, and we have the input for the password. So these ones have got an attribute of name. The name for our input for password is password, and the name for our input for username is username. So this, we use the name attribute to pick information. So here we are going to use the name attribute, and it is username, as you can see here. So it is what we are using here. So we want to get the username that has been entered, and also assign it to username, and get the password. Our password is, the name for this field is password, as you can see here. All right, so this one is password, meaning that even if when you design your own form and you don't use the Django authentication form, you just need to pick what you've entered in the username and password using the name attribute. All right, so I'll save this, and now let's go back and refresh. I can close off this inspect, and I put in admin. So now it means this user is authentic. All right, this user is successfully logged in. When the user exists, they will render for them the home page. So what happens if the user puts in a wrong username? Right, we need to get we need to get that, we need to track also that. So for cases where the user puts in a wrong username or password, it means that user does not exist. So what we shall do is to also display for them an error message. So we can put here a variable and call it error message. We call it error message. This is a variable. Okay, error message is equal to a dictionary. Okay, error message actually is equal to a string. Sorry, username or password is incorrect. All right, so what we want to do is, whenever this user is none, we also go ahead in our dictionary and pass the username. So we also pass it as pass the error message. So we shall just call this error message error as the name, and its value is, right, its value is error message, our variable here. So I'll just copy this and paste here. Okay, so we come to our login. I'm going to close this. We come to our login and display this here. right? Error, remember we called it error as the name. Okay, let me use the same thing so that you don't get confused. I'll save this, and even in the login I use the same. So I'll save this. So when you put in that, I'm going to refresh our login. I'll put in the right username and the wrong password probably. So we click login. You see, so it is saying username or password incorrect. So meaning that whenever user puts in, you can just also copy this break and put it here. Okay. Whenever user puts in, I'm going to put in a wrong username and a correct password. Okay, says user or password incorrect. When I put in the right one, okay, admin takes them to the home page. So perfect. Right now we've created the user login page and we can be in position to authenticate our user. So how do we verify that our user is authentic now? Fine, we know that now it has taken the user to the home page, but what happens if that user is not logged in and they want to access the home page? We need to get rid of that. Right? So whenever someone just types in home, right, like that, we don't need them to access this. All right. Okay, so what we do in the home page here, in the home page, we are going to enclose this in a Python tag, okay, using a function called isUserAuthentic. All right. If user is authentic, then do what? Display for them this. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. Okay, so I'm going to put an if statement here. This is Python code. So if user, right, this user dot is authentic, okay, authentic, then do what? Display for them this. But if they are not authentic, if that user is not authentic, do what? So we are going to put a what? Else part. If that user is not authentic, then do something also. All right. So we are enclosing this. Else do what? Take them to a login page. Give them the route for. I'm just pasting this, and I'll say take them to login. Tell them to log in again. Okay, just for now, and then we can go ahead and end our if. And if, so we save this. I'll refresh this. I think so. Whenever someone tries to put in just home, takes them to the login. When it comes to the about, it takes them. So we are also going to do the same thing for the about. All right. You're just going to copy this same code. If user is authentic, in the about. Okay. Else do what? Else do the same. Okay. So even the about, when we do that before you access my about, please first log in. And when you log in, okay, here it is taking them to the register. So the name, we need to verify the name for our login. Okay, we need to verify the name for our login. Okay, we interchange, as you can see. So this is supposed to be login, and this was supposed to be sign up. We had interchanged. Okay, save. So we go back here, we refresh this, login, takes them to the login. They need to first log in admin, okay, and then they can go. Alright, so when you redirect login, put in admin. Alright, so meaning in our home page we need to verify if user dot is authentic. Okay, I think I'm missing something here. Dot authenticated. Okay, it is supposed to be authenticated, not authentic. Okay, if user is what? Authenticated. So let's try our thing again. You see, the function works properly. So I'm just going to just delete the cache. So I'm just deleting these cookies just to log out this user manually. Alright, let me refresh this. So I've deleted the login cookies, so this user is not logged in. So for them to access the home or about, they need to first log in. Okay, need to first log in. So when I click login and put in the admin, okay, this user can be able to log in and also access the about. We can even display the name of this user who is logged in. So when you go to the home page, we can say home page, and then maybe for welcome user dot username to coding. Okay, so I save this home. Okay, it is saying welcome admin to coding. So if it is another user, it displays their username. Alright, so now we've authenticated the user, so let's go ahead and give them provision to sign up if they can't be added from the admin dashboard. Let's give them provision to sign up. So we are going to also work on the sign up page. Alright, so but before we work on the sign up page, let's add a logout. Let's add a logout functionality, and then we can be in position to log out the user. Alright, so we are going to log out the user. So whenever they click on logout, so we are just going to add a button here. If they are logged in, we are going to add a form, right, that is going to log out the user in the home. So I'm just simply adding a form with a button. Okay, so this form is going to perform a post, right, and it has got CSRF token, so with a button. Okay, and this button is logout, and its type is submit. So we want whenever user here clicks logout, they are logged out. Alright, so that we don't keep deleting and deleting cookies. Okay, so what we shall do here is to add some break. Okay, so that we put some spacing. Okay, this is okay. So we want to activate this button. So we go to our view. Still this same application gives us a logout functionality. So it's what we are going to use. We are going to use a logout functionality, meaning we are going to create a view for logout. Okay, we are going to create a view that is going to help us log out the user, right? And we are going to use the def keyword, and we'll call this logout. So we don't use the exact name, the same name as the function, so that they don't conflict. So that's why I can add something like that, logout user. So request gets in a request, alright, and then what it is going to do simply is to call the function for logout, and then it logs out the user. Okay, so here we pass in the request, right? So this request comes along with the user details, and then what we are going to do here, if they are logged in, we get the login form again, which is authentication form, and then take them back to the home page, right? Return render home page, sorry, login. So I'll just copy this. If they have logged out, let's take them to the login page again. So now we need to create a view. So we need we've created this, so we need to refresh and see what happens in the browser if we do this and log out. So it is not doing anything. Probably we need to point, alright, we need to point to which view our form is going to submit, alright. So we are going to inform this logout form, so with the logout button where it is going to submit. Okay, so we are going to give it an action. We are going to go to the form and give it an action. Okay, so this action is going to be URL. Let's submit the login details, sorry, the logout details to this URL, which is called logout. Remember, we are using this logout URL, but we've not created this, so we shall go and create this URL because we don't have it yet. Alright, so this is the URL for logout. Okay, so we are going to go to our file for URLs and add a path for logging out. So I'll just copy this because of time and call it logout, and then this one calls the logout user functionality, and then it is called logout. Save this. So the next time we refresh this, click on logout, boom, so it logs out the user, and then it takes them back to the login page. So so we can log in again. Alright, so we use admin login. Okay, so when you log out and try to access the home page when you've logged in, tells you, man, you are logged out. You can't do what? You can't just access the home page like that. We log in again. Here it is okay, we are logged in, right? Meaning we can even access the about because we are logged in. We can access the home because we are logged in. The moment we log out, we cannot do anything. So you can use that logout functionality. Now we've seen the login, we've seen the logout. What is pending is the sign up. Right, so let's create the sign up. Let's create the sign up. I'll close these ones here plus the login. I'll remain with this. So in our sign up, we are also going to add a simple form tag. So do like this, sign up form. Right, going to add a simple form tag, basic form without the field set, without the legend. This is also going to take in the, like I told you, the need to prevent the token forgery and use the CSRF token. Okay, and then we go ahead. This form is going to be of method post, right? And we give it a button of submit. Okay, button, call this sign up or register now. So we give it a type of submit. So our sign up looks like this. Okay, so we render the form, Another way you can render a form, you can also render it as paragraph. So you can as well render the form as paragraph. In the login we just rendered it just like form. Another way you can specify that form and render it as paragraph. It is still the same, right? You can just put dot as paragraph. So form.asp. So let's refresh this. Our form is not displaying because when it comes to the sign up we are not passing the form yet, right? So I'll just minimize this, okay, that we have clean code. Okay, I'll get rid of this. I'm going to cut it because we shall need it. So in our register we need also to verify if, right, if this user is just requesting for a post or they have just input the URL direct. So we need to find out which kind of request. So if request dot method is equal to post, then do what? If request dot method is equal to post, right, then don't want that. Have I closed my terminal? Okay, they're already running, still running, just verify. Okay, perfect. So if this is equal to post, then do what? We get the form. Okay, we get what the user has input in the form, which is equal to, so this is a variable I'm just creating. Okay, so when it comes to sign up, this application gives us a form. So this application gives us a form called user authentication, user creation form. So it is the one that we are going to use to create the user. So we shall get the form, which is user creation form, and then get the user's request. So the request is we get the request they have posted. Alright, request dot post. So if the user has clicked this button, meaning that this request is what? A post request. So we get what the users input in that user creation form and store it in our variable form. So after storing it, we are going to just validate if this form is valid. So if form is equal, if form dot is valid, right, then we can go ahead and save that form. We save that user. So form, so Django gives us a function of saving into the database, and this function is called save. So after saving that, maybe we can decide to take them to the home page, or we can decide to take them to the login, but it makes more sense if we take them to the login. So I'll paste this and then take them to login. login. So I'll render and take them to the login. That's if now the form is valid. So what happens if the form is not valid? Okay, else if the form is not valid, do what? Get that form, get the user. Sorry, if the form is not valid, still take them to the user, sign up, let them sign up again. Okay, I'll copy this. So this time around we are not picking any information, we are just getting an empty form and then returning them to return them to the what? Comma sign up dot html, and then we pass that form to them in form of a dictionary, form. So we pass that form. Okay, so this is done if this form is not valid. And then what happens if this request was not a post? Let's render for them the sign up form, right? Else if the request is not a post, do the same thing, get for them the user creation form and render it. Okay, and render the sign up page with that form. So I'll save that, refresh this. So this is how the user creation form looks like. It has got the validation rule. Alright, so you need to create a user following the validation rule. You read through them. Your password can't be similar to the personal information, which is the username. Must contain 8 characters, can't be a commonly used password, and can't be entirely numeric. Alright, so I'm going to give it a username and call it coding. I'll actually call this Rogers, and then the password to coding 123 question mark. Okay, and again to coding 123 question mark. Then I click on register now and see. When I register, it means my form has been validated, and hopefully my information has been saved. So it has taken me to the login page so that I can be in position to log in. But now we see it has taken us to the login page, but it has not returned. It has not returned the form because we've just rendered the login page again. What we can do for us to avoid that, we use a redirect function. Alright, we use a redirect function so that it can just redirect to login direct. Right, we use a redirect so that it can take you to login. When you use redirect, what it does, it goes and looks for this login in the URL, the name of this route. It gets the route, which is this, and then it points to its actual actual view. So in that case, it can do what? It can render for you. So we are going to sign up again, another user, and maybe call this user Angel, and then we use password, the same password to coding. Okay, to coding 123 question mark, and then still to call ding 123 question mark. So when you save this time, it is going to redirect. Are you seeing? It is redirecting to the login, and also when it redirects to the login, it goes to the login view and be in position to do whatever is done in the login. So here we are going to log in with Angel. Okay, Angel with password to call ding 123 question mark, and then login. So it is saying welcome Angels. At this point here, it is Angel is logged in. Alright, so right now we've seen how to create the the login and the sign up and logout of the user. Alright, so again here on the logout, we realize when you log out the user, it takes you to the login but still points to logout. So when you try to put in something that is right, it still takes you to logout because this is a wrong URL. So probably we need to redirect here still. When someone logs out, we just redirect. Okay, we just redirect to the login. Okay, we just redirect to the login. Okay, so we test this with Rogers to call Django 123 question mark login, welcome Rogers, then log out. You see, so now it takes us to login properly. So we can do the same, we can do this. Okay, so perfect. So we have a working authenticated user application, and now let me show you how to do some bit of styling so that you can be in position to design a good looking application. So when it comes to styling your Django app, we call we have what we call static apps. The way you're seeing templates when you're adding in your HTML files, when you're to add in your JavaScript files, when you're to add in your Bootstrap files, when you're to add in your CSS files, what you do is to create a folder inside your app. Create a folder and call it static. Okay, so in this folder, it's where you put all your static files, your CSS, your JavaScript, your all other files that are used by the HTML files. So here in static, I'm going to create one file and call it styles.css. All right. So I'm just going to do a simple styling, probably maybe to my let me see, to my h2 tag, so that each h2 tag is always styled up somehow. So I'll give it color, right, color brown. Okay, so when I save that and I go to my home, okay, let me add this link to my styling. So for us to connect to the CSS that is in our static file, what we do is to load the static files. We first load the static files. All right, you load the static files, load, okay, static, and then you create the link using the HTML link. Okay, and this link has got the rel, which is style sheet, and then the hyper reference, which is, so this time round we reference the same way we referenced this okay, so still this is a Python code. Alright, so this time round it is not a URL, but it is a static what? A static file. And what is the static file name? It is styles.css. So I'll call it styles.css. So we save this and we need to close our tag. Okay, so when we go back to our home page, okay, so it is not viewing our CSS. Okay, so what we do, I'm going to go to my settings folder, sorry, to my settings file in the main project, and look for static files. So we have static files here. So I'm going to specify the main folder. My static files are under my app folder called my app, and then static files. So I'll put here my app / static. So I'll save that and refresh this. Okay, So it is not running. Your app can't be reached. Do we have any error? Let me just verify, because our app has stopped. So it is saying performing a check. My app views changed reloading. Okay, so it made the checks. Okay, it can't find my app static file.css. Right, it can't find this my app. Let's remove it. What we are going to do, okay, I think it was just still refreshing. So now it can see the CSS of our project. Okay, so here sometimes it misbehaves, and when it does that on production, you just specify the app name, but when it doesn't do it, then you can leave it like that, and you don't do any change to your settings file. So for now, don't add the app name to your settings file. It probably pick up the styling. So I've styled my my h2 even, so I've not linked in the about, so don't expect anything to be there because I've not linked it. And probably if I'm to copy this, Crossy, and then paste it in my about, okay, so I expect my CSS to reflect. Alright, so now we've seen also how to add static files to your application. I told you static files can be your CSS, your JavaScript, your jQuery files, your Word, those files that are not HTML files, okay, that are not rendered as templates, but they are being used by your templates files. So this is how you link to them, but you first have to load them. You must load them first. Right, so let's jump into another component that is called Django models. Okay, we are going to look at Django models. So we are going to create one model. Okay, so Django models, I remember I told you our database structure is determined by models, and then these models become like pipelines that give provision for data to run from our database to the user interface or to the views, and then they can also determine our database structure. So let's look at how Django models look like. We have this file that is pre-created by Django, and it is called Django models. All right, so we model student, so use the class keyword student. It takes in models.model, right? Then we can give it attributes. This student will have a name, and this name we need to specify the data, the kind of data or nature of data. In other words, we need to specify the data type that is going to be this name attribute is going to be of. So it inherits the models, and then the data type of text, right, text field, and we can give it a max length of about 50. Okay, and then the student will have age. Okay, and this age is going to also inherit models dot text, sorry, integer field, and then when they don't put in the name, we shall give it a default value of 0. Right, so we are also going to give this student what else? I think we can go with those two. You can always add them basing on what you want. So I'll save this model student. Our application is still up and running, so I'll just verify that. Okay, so when you go to our Django admin, right, When we go to the Django admin, you see the different users we've been adding in. We added in user Angel and we added in user Rogers. So what we shall do here, like these other models, we want also our students model to appear in the admin dashboard. Alright, so for it to appear in the admin dashboard, what we do is to go to the this file in your app which is called admin, and then register your model here. So we'll say admin dot site, right, dot add, okay, admin, what is this function? I think my brain is getting tired. Admin site dot register. Okay, and this time we're registering our model student. So that means for us to register model student, we need to get access to our models file. So we shall import the models file. So dot from dot import our dot import models. Right, so when we import models, it means we can access the models student dot student model. Right, so hopefully we've registered the student here. When we save and refresh our admin, so our model student has been added to the main admin dashboard, and here it shows that these two models are part of the authentication and authorization app, and this model students is part of my admin. So usually as a model should be done in this way, and maybe you can add a few from the admin dashboard. You can be able to add a student. Okay, we can say this is Mosh. Mosh is Mosh is not 40, it must be 30. So you can either save or you can save and add a record. Alright, so it is saying admin student add, what is it saying, my student post add. Okay, alright, so we are trying to insert into our students table. Right, we are trying to insert a new student in a students table, but remember this students table does not exist. All right, so we need to first create the students table in our database and be in position to add. So what we are going to do, remember I told you if we make any changes to any model or if we add a new model, we need to make migrations. So what I'm going to do here is to make migrations so that we can track this new model that has been created, which is student. So I'm going, for me to create migrations for this new model that has been made, run py manage.py and then make migrations. All right, so it will make migrations. When you just type make migrations and you don't specify the migration name you're interested in, it will name it in its own way. So it has named it 0001 initial.py. So it has created migrations for our student. How do we verify? We have a migrations folder here. So right now when we click on it, we have one existing file for our migrations. It has got the ID and the name and the age. So it is telling us that the model student has created a blueprint for our table, and our table will look like this. Alright, so let's go ahead and apply these migrations by running py manage.py migrate. Right, so when we migrate, when we expect these migrations to be applied, and our model, our students table should be created in the database, and also make these tables in it, these fields in it. So it says this application, these were already applied, so it has run only one migration, which is this. So let's go ahead and insert Mosh again. So Mosh has been added because now the table exists, we can add Simon Peter. Alright, we can add Simon Peter. So Peter, I think Peter is Peter should be 38. We also add Zamda. Zamda should be 29. Okay. We also add Champion. Champion is about Champion is below 18. We add who? I think those are enough. We so far 4. We can add one last one. We can add one last one, and that is going to be Letitia. Letitia is 15. Okay, we save. Okay, so we have this Mosh. Okay, we can either delete, we can do anything in the admin dashboard. All right, you can see the list now. It names them as objects. We have Simon Peter, we have Zamda, we have Champion, we have Letitia. We also have Xavier. Xavier looks to be old, so it should be 45. The rest you'll add yourselves. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to maybe display these students here in the home page. I'm going to display a list of these students that have been registered, so you can also see how that works. And okay, so for me to get the list of all these students that were added from the admin and access them in my home page, what I will do is so I'm going to close this. I'll close the model student, I'll close admin, all these files that I don't need. I'm only interested in the home and okay, and the view. So I'm going to add a list of students in the home, just below the below this welcome note. Okay, so I'll put here a list of, so I'll call this heading 4, and list of students. So our list is going to be here down. All right, so we shall add it, but for now let's add the heading list of students. All right, that is good. So we are going to first get the students. For us to get the students, we need to first import our models file. Right, so from dot import what? Okay, import our models file. All right, perfect. So we import our models file. So in this models file, we are going to be having many models, though for now we have only one model, so we shall use that. So I'm going to look for where my home page is rendered. If I want these students to be listed in the home page, it means I must pass those students whenever this home page is being rendered, and it is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pick all those students. I'm going to store them in a list called the students. So I'm just creating a list of students, and in this list of students, what I'm going to do is to just use a function called the or that is provided by Python and Django to select objects from the database. So this time round I'm selecting from our models.student, okay, dot objects. All right, and then dot or. Okay, so this is the function that helps us to select from students. If it is another model, you put the model name. All right, So now after getting this list of students, I need to pass it to our home page as it is being rendered. So I'll pass it the same way we've been passing the form. I'll pass it as a dictionary. So we can't just pass it as a list. Whatever I want to pass to a template, we pass it as a dictionary. That's why we create a dictionary. So this dictionary name is going to be students. Alright, and then the value is this list, okay, of students. Alright, so this one I'll call it students. Perfect. Okay, so now we've passed our students that have been picked, and now let's go ahead and display their names in the home. Now that we have this list, we need to just look through it in this style. Alright, so I'm going to put here an ordered list of students. Alright, and then we shall be in position to add a list item. Okay, and this list item, so we are whenever a loop runs through this list of students, we want it to list that student. All right, so we shall put this list item into a loop, and we are going to use a for loop to display these students. Okay, so this for loop, since it is a Python code, we shall wrap it under that, and we shall use a for each. So for each, now a variable student, this one I'm just creating a variable that is going to store a student each time for each iteration when the loop runs. For each student in our students list, so I'm using this name. Okay, this name. Okay, for each student in students, I'll paste it there. Do what? Display for us. So when you are displaying something that is of Python code, you use the double. So you get student. Remember now, for the first iteration, the student is going to be stored here, and the student is an object. Here we are interested in the name. Alright, remember our student has got an attribute. It has got an attribute name and age, so we need to display name. So that's why we need to use the attribute name the exact way it is in the model, and then we close, we end the loop here, end loop. So I'll save this. So from students list, whenever you iterate, store that student you get into a variable called student. This variable can be anything, and then list for me, and it give me the student's name. So I'll save this and see if we have the list of students. Right, so refresh that. It is saying syntax error, end loop empty end 4. Alright, it is saying end 4, so instead of saying end 4, I used end loop. Alright, I think I'm getting tired. That is fine. Okay, so now our list of students has been listed. We have Mosh, we have Simon Peter, we have Xavier. Okay, so we can say maybe this we can say see more students. See more. Right, just that. So whenever you want to see more students, you can just do what? Click on see more. So probably from there you can give a clear list of students or table. So you can as well loop this information into a table. Alright, you can use a table instead of looping in a list. What you do is to use a table, so you can figure that out. So thank you so much. In the next tutorial, I will show you how to use Django forms, or how to add information into your database using forms. So instead of us adding the students from the admin, we shall create our own form that we shall use to add students into our database in the next tutorial.